I'm glad you guys are out here, and I'm excited just to give you a little background of how this all transpired. One of the things, and everybody's very familiar with the Tea Party movement and what's going on all across the country. And in Garland County, we're very privileged to have a very good and very active Tea Party movement. And it's a little bit different than the Tea Party movements that sometimes you hear across the country. We are, just so that you understand, we are avidly nonpartisan. I mean, when I mean avidly nonpartisan, if you come up and start talking about, you know, all those Democrats or all those Republicans or all that, we'll shut you down pretty quick. Because what we've learned through this movement is that our problem is an American problem. It's not a party problem. It's a policy problem. We have a problem in America where our representatives aren't listening anymore. And when they listen to us halfway and then straightway make a decision that is completely opposite to popular belief. Now, we're not a true democracy where the majority rules. We're not. But the truth of the matter is, when you have such an overwhelming cry for certain policies, procedures, and they're not being listened to, then it is up to the people. It's up to the individuals to stand up and make their voices heard. It's part of the First Amendment, the right to redress, the right to petition their government for redress. And that's what started the Tea Party in Garland County when we started hearing about the bailout. Now, most of you understand is that, and I've seen a lot of letters to the editor here recently about, well, where were you complaining about, you know, George Bush, and where we... I was the first one. As a matter of fact, if you came to the first Tea Party, you would find out that my biggest discontent was the fact that the government spent $785 billion bailing out people that had no right to be bailed out. They gave money in an unconstitutional manner, and we've been fighting it ever since. So it's not a recent development. It is a development that has happened over the course of 10 years. But the Apex started on April the 15th, and it moved on since. So since April the 15th, I've been involved in the Tea Party movement. Now, not by design. As a matter of fact, a friend came to me and said, "You know what, hey Glenn, I'm hearing all this stuff going all across the country. Let's do a Tea Party in Garland County." I said, "Okay, great, that's wonderful." We got to about 10 days short of having this Tea Party. He said, "You know what, Glenn, I'm just way too busy. You know, you're going to have to take over. You're just going to have to do this." I'm like, "What?" I said, "You're the one that started it. You're the one that came up with all the ideas. You're the one that wanted to get this going. Now what am I going to do?" Anyway, long story short, we had a great event. We had about 450 people showed up. I stood on the flower box. Don't tell the judge. Stood up on the flower box with a megaphone and gave a speech. And immediately after that speech, of course, people came on and shook my hand and said, "Okay, now what?" I don't know. I had no clue. All I know is I was mad, and so was everybody else, and we're going to let people know that we're mad. But we've learned over the course of time that being mad is not good enough. Okay? Complaining is not good enough. Writing letters to the editor is not good enough. Signing petitions, emailing is not good enough. Until we get active and until we get involved in the political process, we'll never, ever change our government. I tell folks all the time, I say, "You know what, I got this great idea." You know, and we've all done this. Have you ever had somebody come to you, "Well, let me tell you, if we'll only do this, I mean, I've got it. We can write this legislation and we'll make this happen. If we'll only do this, I promise, solve all the problems in America." And I said, "Well, that's great. That's wonderful. The biggest problem is it could be the greatest idea in the world. Without a listening ear, nothing gets accomplished. If you get ignored." You know, have you ever had your child? I did. My son's now 15, but I don't miss the days. "Daddy, daddy, 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 daddy." Come on, you guys know what I'm talking about. You know, and you know, after a while you learn to tune them out, don't you? Husbands, we know how to turn out the wives. Come on, the game's playing. You know, and my wife did it to me yesterday. She did it to my intro. What did I say? Well, I heard the last part. No. What did I say? He says, "Next time, get your face out of the computer," because I like to watch. I'm a multitasker. I'll type on my laptop while I'm watching watching some stupid show my wife likes. No, you didn't hear me say that. Some show that she really appreciates, and I enjoy right alongside her. Anyway, so that's what's happened to our government, and our purpose changed from trying to change legislation to start getting involved in the political process, and that's what we've done. So over the course of the past 10 months, what we've done is we've actually been able to recruit, qualify, and educate candidates to run for various political offices. As a matter of fact, right now, there is 19 out of 23 challenged positions. Now, we don't care if it's challenged a Democrat against a Democrat, a Republican against a Democrat, a Republican against a Republican. The key is a challenged position. Why should it? And there's some elected people here. There's not one person that wouldn't be proud to stand up for the job that they're doing. I mean, I heard you talking about your job. You're proud of what you're doing. You stand for what you do. You believe in what you do. There's not one. Why would we be ashamed to stand up and say, you know what, I've done a good job. Let me prove it to you. I've done a good job. Let me show you what I can do. But the problem is we've not challenged those positions. And I believe every position needs to be challenged. Every election, every time. Why? Number one, it makes the incumbent stronger. It does. It makes you reevaluate and take a look at your job and say, how can I make it better? It makes you do that. And then secondly, those people that challenge, it makes them get involved in the process. It's amazing what has happened over the course of time. So just to give you an idea, 19 out of 23 challenged, 3 of them have multiple challengers. In other words, you realize we're going to have a primary for a Justice of the Peace office? Come on, I can't remember the last time that's happened. We're having primary challenges for constables. I mean, it's an amazing process. And it's because of the Tea Party movement being able to get people motivated and get people challenged to do the things that need to be done, which is make America stronger and make America the country where it is ruled by the people. But the people fell asleep. Every one of us has yelled at the TV more than once. Every one of us has cursed the newspaper more than once. Every one of us has complained about why can't they do this, and why should they do this, and why can't we do that. And the reason, the truth of the matter is because we've not gotten involved. So over the course of time, I've gotten really active, and I've been recognized not only statewide, but national-wide. And I was invited to go to, I'm coming in for a landing, but it's important that you understand how this all came to be. We got invited to come to Dallas. I got involved to come to Dallas and to speak at a leadership forum. And the leadership was sponsored by several different groups that wanted to help the Tea Party movement come together. The one thing that they forgot was that we are adamantly independent. We don't want leadership. We don't. We don't want guidance. We don't. Because the Garland County Tea Party movement is completely different than the Monroe, Louisiana Tea Party movement, which is completely different than the Houston Tea Party movement, because it's a grassroots movement. It's what's important to us. It's what's needful to us. And we don't need some group take over the leadership and try to morph everything into a national thing. Arkansas is completely different than any other of the 57 several states. And so should our Tea Party movement. So we got together, we started talking, and we came up with a lot of good things that we could do. And then, through that process, Chairman Steele from the Republican Party said, you know, hey, we're having a problem here. And the problem is you guys are fighting us, and we're fighting you, and let's see if we can get together and figure out what to do. And so we did. We actually met with Chairman Steele of the Republican National Committee. We met for him for 3.5 hours. It was a scheduled 1-hour appointment. We met for him 3.5 hours. I was not a nice man. You might not believe it. I know. You're probably looking at him and saying, this guy's wonderful. He's so nice. He's so kind. I was not a nice man to him because I was angry. And I'll tell you why I was angry. The reason we have a problem is because there are people up at the national level, that's Democrat and Republican, that are pushing down legislation and pushing down ideas and pushing down strategies to win elections and completely ignoring local, completely ignoring us, and completely ignoring the will of the people. The will of the people don't want a big hierarchy. We don't want a large central government. We don't want large central control. We want control back. at the people level.